Hey there, real quick before we get into the episode, I just want to ask you a huge favor. As you know, this podcast isn't monetized, and I really hope to keep it that way. And so, what would really be awesome is if you did me the favor of passing it forward, paying it forward. Hit that share button if you want to share this particular episode, or share the entire podcast. Post it on your stories or in your social media, or share it directly with any individual that you might think would appreciate and enjoy this content. I really want to continue giving you value for free, sharing this information with you, because my mission is to help you on your journeys, right? And as I said, if you're finding this stuff helpful, chances are there's somebody else out there that will. So again, do me a quick favor, hit that share button, and let's get this message out. All right, on with the show. Media. When you give yourself permission to be yourself, to be authentic, to be true to who you are, and you show people that, it gives them permission to do that as well. Hi, my name is Ronnie Cruz. After almost 2 decades as a career network marketer, I realized that despite continual work on my personal and professional development, that I had hit a massive brick wall. So I took a deep and honest look at myself, top to bottom, hoping to find answers, and my search led me to one conclusion. The definitions I held of my business, of my world, of my life, were the very things holding me back. If I wanted to change, if I wanted to grow beyond my current circumstances, I had to wipe the slate clean and redefine. This show is dedicated to helping you identify the belief systems, the mindsets, the very definitions that have held you back, and then help you break through those limitations to finally create the life you've been working so hard to achieve. Welcome to the ReDEFINE Podcast. All right, welcome back to the show. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're going to be talking about visibility in the online space, in the context of online marketing, social media, content creation, the influencer space. A really, really important topic, because I think it's one of the primary goals. It's one of the primary aims of content creation if you're using the online platforms for your marketing. Right? Because if you're not, then yeah, as a business owner, you're dead in the water, really. It's unavoidable. You cannot have a business in today's age and not utilize the internet. like how else are people going to get to know you, right? So creating that visibility around your business and letting people know that you exist in the first place, whatever kind of business that is, right? You can have a restaurant, or you can be a personal brand, you can be an influencer, you can be a coach, you can be a chiropractor, you can be a masseuse, whatever this, the business is, a realtor, right? There are so many advantages of creating visibility online. And what you'll see is that the individuals and businesses that are creating visibility online and doing it well they're eating the lunch of everybody else that isn't. Right? Again, if you're a business owner, you're going to want to participate and really start getting accustomed to creating visibility online. Now, that said, despite the level of participation in the online space, especially social media, right? Like there's billions and billions and billions of people around the world. A huge percentage of the population are on social media, across all those platforms, right? And I should have looked this up, but it's got to be a huge number when you total up all the different social media platforms. So we have I think a majority of the population utilizing and participating on these platforms. But I think at the same time, there is a huge amount of the population that still is very hesitant to create visibilities for themselves, right? To create visibility and put themselves out there in a way that is different from, the quote unquote social media aspect of it, right? Sharing your updates, your status updates, right? All right. And it's an interesting dynamic. I think it's really an interesting dynamic. The online world for me, it's human behavior on crack. No, not crack. That's the wrong word. It's human behavior that's exponentially kind of multiplied, because everybody has a level of access that we've never had before. And it's a level of visibility that we've never had before, right? It's a level of being able to have a platform that on a scale that's never been available in human history, which is really exciting. Again, from a business standpoint, especially if you utilize it well, and if you develop the skills around creating visibility online, um, then yeah, it's a home run. It's a home run. There's really there's no downside about it, right? Like if you do it well, if you learn and if you grow and you develop your skills, there's no downside about creating visibility online. So why are so many people still afraid of it, right? I think this is it's just such a funny conversation. Uh, there's so many, especially in network marketing, right? Like on my teams, and in my company, uh, like trying to get people to engage in social media and create visibility for their businesses, it's an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle. It's like getting them. It's almost akin, not quite this severity, but it's almost akin to public speak, right? Public speaking. Why is public speaking so scary? Because you're standing up in front of a group of people, and it's that fear of judgment, right? It's that fear of what are they going to think? It's that fear of am I going to sound stupid, right? It's all these things of standing out from the crowd, right? Separating yourself from the herd, and it's very like if you're a listener of mine, you'll know that I love to tie things to ancient wiring, right? Ancient ways of thinking and like our primordial brains. And this is one of those instinctual things that, if we step out from the crowd, if we stand out, that creates risk, right? If you leave the tribe, then it's risky. Every time you leave the village or every time you leave the tribe, you lose the advantage of numbers, you lose the protection of the herd, and you put yourself at risk of getting eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. Now that mindset, that programming is encoded in our DNA, and it acts itself out. It manifests itself on this level of the internet and social media and creating visibility, right? Creating visibility. Like once you create visibility and you make yourself visible in the online space, especially social media, um, well, you also potentially make yourself a target, right? The more visible you are, the bigger a target you can be, right? And so it becomes a scary thing to do, and taking these risks. I mean, because we've seen it, right? Like the beautiful side about online and social media and content creation is that yes, we now have an ability to be more visible and to have a platform and to reach more people than we've ever had in human history. However, the dark side of that is, well, yeah, it also kind of amplifies mob mentality, and the when somebody steps out and stands out from the herd, it's very very easy to attack, right? Because you can an individual can place judgment and can ridicule somebody in the comment section of any particular post or social media outlet, and do it from the relative safety and anonymity of their device, right? And so this creates this ease of judgment, and this kind of mob mentality starts to kind of creep in. Oh yeah, yeah. This I see one quote, making fun of this individual. One post here, one comment there. I'll chime in, right? I'll chime in, and so that's why I think that kind of dynamic is really still at play, right? It's still at play. Again, it's an ancient dynamic. It's an ancient behavioral patterns. This ancient programming that served us in ancient times, right, in prehistoric times. Otherwise, the programming wouldn't be there anymore. But it served us then for survival, and that's why it's encoded. The crazy thing is, I mean, it's really for me, anyways, because I didn't grow up in an era where there was internet. I didn't grow up in an era where there was social media, so I'm pretty far detached from all of that cyberbullying and because I just don't care. I'll post it and like, who cares what haters are going to say about this stuff. Um, but I do understand that for the generations after me, that this is an integral part of life and communication and human interaction. It's as real as the judgment that we hear in person, right? It's as real as the bullying that we might receive in person. It's as real as all of that, right? Those verbal assaults. And so, yeah, I mean, it creates this hesitation of that ancient wiring, that ancient pattern of not wanting to take risk and becoming visible and standing out from the crowd, is yeah, it comes into play, and it comes into play very, very in a very strong way, and it holds a lot of people back from, from, yeah, well, like the beauty of what online space can do, especially social media, especially content creation, right? Content creation is great. And I've talked about this before in the past, how whether or not you even have a business, if you get into content creation, even as a hobby, and you start building a following, you're building yourself an asset that you could potentially cash in on down the road, no matter what happens, in the economy, no matter what happens in, with the job market, right? If you just take time out of your week, to post something and to create visibility online, then you have yourself an asset in with the audience that you build, right? With the audience, and then of course, as an extension, for those of you who are even more ambitious, with the community that you build, right? So it's really one of those things that, man, I don't understand. Well, I do. I mean, that's what this that's what this episode is about. I do understand why more people don't do it, but I want you to know that, yeah, it's okay. Like the people then the hate, the bullying or the judgment that you get online, even offline, right? Like if you have family members or friends are like, man, what are you doing with this content creation stuff? Like, who cares? Who cares? It's not a saber-toothed tiger, right? And also to understand that one of the other dynamics that's happening with visibility is people often tell me, well, I don't know what to do, right? I don't know how to stand out. I don't know, what to say. I don't know what kind of content to create. And the reality of it is, it's standing because of the herd mentality, right? Like the standing out is really not something that you have to do in terms of, to really stand out. It's just not being like everybody else, right? That's how you stand out. It's not purposefully or intentionally trying to figure out how different or wacky or creative or coming up with new ideas you can be. It's just not being and doing what the rest of the herd is doing, and that is being safe, and that is not being authentic to themselves. The really online, one of well, the only way to stand out is to be authentically yourself, right? To be authentic and true, about who you are, and letting the world see that, right? That's creating visibility. Well, that's standing out, right? And if you stand out, you create visibility, as opposed to doing what everybody else is doing, and that's not participating. That's just showing, what they're having for lunch, right? Right? Status updates, which is great. But you are so much more than what you happen to be doing at this moment. All right, and that I think that's really my main point. That's how to stand out. Again, it's all about being authentic, and the authentic and the true you, and showing that to the world. And what that does is, what's really awesome about that, and why I love this conversation in particular, is that when people see that, it gives them permission to be authentic, more authentic to themselves, right? Because again, it is a very scary and intimidating world out there, and all of that is exponentially multiplied by the internet, right? That mob mentality, the judgment, don't stand out, don't be different, be like everybody else, right? We become more and more fearful of the hate and the vitriol and of the judgment, and really, when you give yourself permission to be yourself, to be authentic, to be true to who you are, and you show people that, it gives them permission to do that as well, right? Again, the hate's going to be there regardless, on or offline, right? The judgment, and honestly, it's not that much. 90% of them are just people who are bored with life. The other 10% of the haters are doing it and are picking on you and are cyberbullying because they have their own issues, right? It sucks, I know, and it's hurtful, but understand that you're allowing yourself to be visible is giving somebody else permission. It's giving somebody else strength, and it's opening up possibilities for other people as well. So I encourage you to, yeah, have that courage, right? And it'll get easier and easier the more you put yourself out there in this authentic way. I mean, just for this episode alone, I record these episodes live now on in the ReDEFINE community, and this particular episode has taken me, I mean, almost an hour to record. It's going to be about a 15 to 20 minute 15 to 20 minute episode when it's all said and done. But yeah, it's because of the mess ups, because of the do-overs, it's taken me about an hour. Now, if I was worried about judgment and being picked on and being ridiculed, then I wouldn't do the live recording. But part of the reason why I do the live recording is so that the people that are in the ReDEFINE community can see the messy side, right? Can see that I am human. It's not, I don't sit down and spit out a perfect product. There's a process to it, right? And oftentimes that process is messy. But the main thing is that it's real, it's authentic. You get a more raw look at this entire process, and so that makes it more, I think, attainable and accessible to the people that are watching the live. All right, understand visibility is important, and it's nothing to be afraid of. And the only thing that you really should and need to embrace in terms of standing out is yourself. Be true to you. Be true to you, and show people that, and you give them permission to be true to themselves. The haters are going to hate regardless, so don't even worry about that. You have too much to do. You have too much to accomplish. You have too many goals to get done to worry about what the haters say. Yeah, yeah. So that's the message on visibility. I think it's a really, again, interesting dynamic where when you see ancient human behavior, yeah, ancient human behavior come out and display themselves as a result of modern advances in technology. It's such an interesting juxtaposition, and I like to do that. That's how, yeah, I like to see the world in that way, because I mean, regardless of how advanced technology is, yeah, intricately will always be tied to the humans that invented it and use it, right? And so our human behavior informs a lot of this technology and yeah, how we interact on there. So visibility, very, very important, primary in terms of your goal for your content creation, your social media, your online marketing. And I know it can be very intimidating, given that the mob mentality and the herd will, yeah, well, the more visible you are, you also make yourself a target. However, the more visible you are about your authentic self and being true to yourself, you give permission and strength to people that might be that might be worried and scared and have hesitations about being visible for their own businesses and for their own journeys. So blaze a trail, and in doing so, you light the trail for others behind you. Okay. All right. So that's it. That's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks for tuning in. We will definitely catch you next week with a fresh new episode. So until then, be well, be safe, and go towards goodness.